Good afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to call to order the first University Senate meeting of the 2019-20 academic year. Please remember that if we lose our video connections with any of our campuses, we'll have a 10-minute recess. And if after 10 minutes we have audio connections, we will continue with or without the video. However, if we lose audio as well, we will adjourn. Let's proceed with our campus sound checks. Could we hear from downtown?
Hi, Shirley. We can hear you just fine.
Thank you, Samin. From Poly?
Hi, Shirley. He's from Poly.
Thank you, Yun. From West?
This is Ken from West. We can hear you fine.
Okay, thank you, Ken. First, I have to apologize that I must speak from my seat today. I'm having some back trouble and I need to avoid standing up and sitting down. So thanks for your patience with that. Welcome, everyone. I'm Shirley Rose, Chair of the University Academic Council and President of the University Senate for the 2019-20 academic year. I'm Professor of English in the English Department in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences here on the Tempe campus. Before we conduct our official quorum calculation, I would like to introduce or recognize ex officio members and guests in the attendance and ask campus presidents to introduce themselves and recognize our senators who are beginning their terms this year. Joining us this afternoon from University Administration are University President Michael Crow, University Provost Mark Searle, Vice Provost for Academic Personnel, Deb Clark, and Dean of Graduate College, Alfredo Artiz. Also with us this afternoon are representatives from student government, Leah Jones, from Graduate and Professional Student Association, and Dominic Ratura from Student Government. And as well, Jared Vibert from University Staff Council. Jared is President-elect of the Staff Council. Thank you for your participation and attendance with us today. I'm asking each of the campus presidents then if you will ask new senators at each of your locations to acknowledge by raising their hands or waving at us so we can see who you are. Downtown, if the new senators will give us a wave. Thank you.
Can you see everyone waving?
Yes, we can. Thank you. From Poly, if we could get a wave from the new senators. Thank you. And from West Campus, a wave from new senators. Thank you. Those of you in the Tempe audience, if you are a new senator, if you stand so we can recognize you. Thank you. Thank you all, new senators, for your service and for taking this on. We'll move now to our quorum calculation, and I'm asking Maria Coca, Senate Manager, if she would manage that for us.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Happy Monday. So we're going to do a quorum calculation, but before that, I'm going to do a short tutorial of how to use the clickers because they're a little tricky, those clickers. So let me go ahead and share the screen. There we go. Okay, so you might be wondering, right? So you have the clicker in front of you, And you might be wondering, is my clicker on? Because it doesn't look on. It actually is. So when the question gets open for you to vote, all you have to do is press A, B, C, or D corresponding to the actual question, to the options, and it will register it for you, okay? You may change your vote as often as you need. It will only register the very last vote. So let's say that you just mispressed 2 when you meant to press 3. You can correct that. And the correct answer or the last pressing is what will count. That's pretty much it. So they're on, they don't look on, but they really are, I promise. So do you guys have any questions, or should we go ahead and start with the poll? All right, we'll go ahead. So we are going to start with question. So go ahead and select the answer that corresponds to the campus in which you are attending today's meeting. So I'm getting that they're not working. Yeah, we have some responses. It's 41, so they should, we tested them earlier. They should be working, but you know how it happens. Travis?
Hi, Mario.
They're going
Here's a
up,
copy.
so Tempe,
this is
can you
mine.
check again and press your number again?
This is Polly. We're not seeing your entire screen on your presentation. When you have shared your presentation, we're not seeing your full screen.
Also, my clicker doesn't work.
Is that better?
Yes,
Polly,
yes, thank you.
Thank you. So I guess they knew it was Monday, so they were a little slow. If you guys can enter your answers, we'll keep it open for another maybe 20 seconds.
They're working.
And they're on.
We cannot vote at Polly. It seems that it's not open for Polly. We're getting non-accepting.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and close this one. We're gonna go ahead and capture these results.
The poly votes aren't showing, and that'll be a problem when we have a vote later.
They are.
We'll try to resolve this issue, and if we can't resolve it with the clickers, we do have the option of voting by hand. As long as we have the visual, we'll be able to count hands raised out at Poly.
Okay.
So they
Create a whole new
will not be left out.
Okay, so we are going to take a little detour. We're going to close the session, and then we're going to restart because we want to make sure that Poly gets counted on the voting. So we're going to go ahead and reissue a new ID. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out. Do you want to guide me through that, Travis? Okay. Okay, campuses. The new session ID is 052880. Again, the new session ID is 052880. And if you're in channel 41, you should be able to connect to it. And we're going to go ahead and restart the question. This one anywhere. Okay, the polling is open. Go ahead and cast your vote. Closing the vote in 2 seconds. Well, they're still coming in. We're going to go ahead and record those votes. Opening the second question. Which of the following documents relates to the University Senate's role, share governance at Arizona State University? Is it A, Arizona Legislature ARS 15-1601, B, Arizona Board of Regents 6-201, C, Arizona State University Academic Affairs Manual ACD 112-01, or D, all of the above? Cast your votes.
Would you please move the screen again a little bit because we're still not seeing the full screen?
Yes, thank you. Last call for votes. We'll go ahead and record the votes. D is the correct answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Before we proceed, I want to make the announcement that one of our faculty passed this last weekend, Professor Aaron Moore from Shippers. If we could observe a few moments of silence. Thank you. It's my pleasure and honor and privilege this afternoon to introduce Dr. Michael Crow, president of the most innovative university in the country.
Thank you, Professor Rose, and good afternoon to everyone. It is true that they started this evaluation by other universities, in fact, all universities and colleges about 5 years ago, and it's true that for each of these 5 years we've been, I don't know what the right word is, selected for punishment or selected as most innovative in the country. I think that what that is reflective of is the general recognition within higher education broadly that Arizona State University is certainly moving in different directions and having positive outcomes as a function of the things that we're doing here that are in fact innovative. It doesn't mean that everyone's involved in that process knows all of the details, but many of them are aware of the outcomes and aware of the general process by which those outcomes were derived. So this morning they said I needed to go around and talk to people, so the first interview was this morning at 5:10 a.m. On a radio station, and then subsequent after that. I can tell you that there's lots of parking and no traffic at 5:10 a.m. at KTAR Radio, and no open doors. And so let me say that we're getting off to a great start here in the fall semester of 2019. We have about 75,000 students in full immersion, technology-enhanced, on-campus living environments. We have more than 17,000 students living on campus with us, about 14,000 first-year students since there aren't any, we are no longer referring to freshmen as freshmen, we're referring to them as first-year students for lots of reasons in terms of updating our language. Fantastic diversity in the freshman class, fantastic diversity in the student body, both socioeconomic diversity as well as ethnic diversity, so we're very happy about that. Record enrollment from Arizona, record enrollment from around the country, fantastic progress that's being made. And in addition, as we have long ago worked to be able to do, we have, or will have this semester, by present count, 51,000, at the small number, 51,000 digital immersion, technology-enhanced online learners across more than 200 degree programs, including approaching 15,000 or 16,000 science, technology, engineering, and math majors who are online. You want to see a fantastic video, and we can send this out to everyone through the Provost's office. I like the unedited version better than the edited version, but we have an unedited version produced by two of our faculty members in the School of Molecular Sciences, responding to a dean or several deans of admission from medical schools, basically taking the I am as ignorant as a turnip position, that how could you be capable of going to medical school if you earned your degree online? Because online, you don't work in groups. Online, you don't learn how to communicate. Online, you've never been involved in team decision-making, et cetera, et cetera. So our faculty members came together and said that this is all wrong. So they decided to take an opportune moment, which was the moment in which some of our online biochemistry students were actually on campus completing their hands-on laboratory part of their undergraduate experience, which turns out to be fantastic, and they interviewed a whole series of them. Electricians' mates from nuclear-powered submarines, flight medics from basically helicopter rescue services, firefighters, pharmaceutical technicians, lab technicians, everything that you could possibly imagine, who answered each of the I'm as dumb as a turnip medical school admission deans questions about whether or not they knew how to work in groups, whether or not they knew how to communicate, et cetera, because there's a lack of understanding of who most of our online students are. They are, for the most part, students who were unable, because they were either serving their country, working, or doing something else, to go to college when they were 18. Or if they went to college when they were 18, something happened to them or their family and they didn't finish. And they now want to finish. And some of you have heard me talk about this before, and in our present society, that's well, too bad. I'm really so sorry that you weren't able to finish college. I guess other people finished and you won't. And so this is a fantastic video, and it's made me very proud because faculty did it on their own. They produced the video, interviewed the students, came up with the logic, came up with the rhetoric, came up with the entire thing, and it is unbelievably powerful. We closed last fiscal year, June 30th, 2019, opened the new fiscal year July 1. Record fundraising, more than $410 million from more than 110,000 individual donors, 25% of whom had never given to the university before. Really, really important, more than 25,000 individuals who had never given to the university before. We will close with our research funding level somewhere between $635 million and $650 million, give or take, given some counting that's going on now. We closed with record outcomes in terms of faculty awards, faculty grants, faculty proposals, student awards, student grants, student proposals, spin-out companies, intellectual property, spin-outs, licenses, patents, all of those things, whatever they happen to be. And so all in all, I mean, the faculty and the staff are performing at the highest level of performance yet attained by the institution. We have lots of things in motion. We're beginning construction for the new headquarters of the Thunderbird School of Global Management in downtown Phoenix. We're beginning construction shortly for a new live-in residence hall immediately north of the YMCA on the downtown Phoenix campus for students who are starting artistic enterprises, film enterprises, or business enterprises, which they will incubate in this space. We're beginning construction on a new residence hall on the Polytechnic campus. We're beginning construction on the ISTB 7 building, which is a major transdisciplinary research building focused on global futures. That begins construction shortly. That's the largest research building that we have ever been a part of. We have a $50 million plus renovation project underway immediately next to Old Main in what was the former home of the English department and the International Languages and Cultures School. That's going to be a fabulous facility, restored to, not restored, but reconditioned to be similar to Old Main and similar to University Club and similar to University House or to the Piper Center for Creative Writing, which is in that little quad space, and so that is underway. We have the new Mayo ASU Health Innovation Health Solutions Center under construction, well under construction, next to the Mayo Hospital in North Phoenix. We have what we can call ISTB 8, another interdisciplinary science and technology research building under construction on the downtown Phoenix campus through a partnership called Wexford. I won't walk you through all of the programs, all of the facilities, all of the activities, but I will say that there's a lot going on and there's a lot of forward momentum by our faculty and our staff and our team in terms of moving things forward. We are fighting hard to bring justice for our 9 students who were kept out of the United States with valid visas at the Los Angeles International Airport for reasons that we cannot yet determine. I don't know where we are relative to determining those, other than we're pressing very hard for the government to offer us an explanation. Most of those students did return home and are now enrolled in ASU online, completing their courses for this semester, continuing to work towards their degrees. I've read the academic records of all of those students myself personally, been through each of their records. These were students in good standing, students who had worked hard, are continuing to work hard, students who had multi-year visas, no issues. I read the background of different things related to these students, all just a complete injustice. We've not been told anything. We're pressing hard. We're pressing hard politically. We're pressing hard legally. We're pressing hard on every front because it's just unfair. It's unfair to the families. It's unfair to the students. It's unfair to the country. I mean, everybody follows the rules. You show up on your way to college, and then you're told that you can't enter for some, at least what appears to be at the moment, some kind of unexplained reason, if not bogus reason, just made up on the spot. And so I will tell you that we will not rest until we understand what the actual reasons are and until we bring some resolution to this. And so this is something that's on our mind as we're moving forward. We're off to a great start with some fantastic input from our student government leaders on areas of policy design and policy decision making that our student leaders would like us to engage on. We've had a fantastic summary of those requests from them, and we're underway figuring out how we can implement those requests from our student leaders. I find that the student leaders are acutely focused on the enhancement of the university's openness, its egalitarianism, its focus on social justice, its ability to attain higher levels of social justice within the institution, academic quality, health and well-being of students. These are all important areas from our student government leaders, and so we've gotten off to a good start on that also. The Board of Regents has submitted an unusual budget request to the governor for consideration in the FY21 budget submission proposal that the governor will be making to the legislature when it opens early in the new year. The budget request is one in which we have been told there'll be no, as there hasn't been for a long time, no formula funding of the universities, no formulaic support of students coming to the university from anywhere. And so what we're hoping is that the governor's desire to lay the foundation for what could be called the new economy, you could call that the new economy with great uncertainty about what the new economy will look like. You could call that what will the world look like when the fourth phase of the Industrial Revolution then takes its next steps, whatever you want to call it. What we're hopeful of is that we're going to be asked to take on a number of additional tasks and a number of additional assignments with resources related to teachers and teacher production, resources relative to workforce preparation, enhanced workforce preparation, resources relative to what we think will be a big part of where we hope we end up in terms of additional investments in engineering, but not only in science and technology related areas. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions from anyone on any of the campuses and sort of see where we are.
Thank you, President Crow. Do we have any questions from the West Campus?
No questions here.
Thank you. Any questions from the Poly Campus?
Yeah, we have one quick question. So we would like to ask the President Crow to share your vision of the plan for our Poly campus.
The vision for the Poly campus. So the vision for what we call the metro campuses of Arizona State University remains what it has been for some time, which is that the Tempe campus would ultimately grow to 55,000 full-time equivalent or so students, and each of the other 3 campuses would grow to 15,000 or perhaps 20,000 students. And that's not an arbitrary number drawn from nowhere. That's about what we think a metropolitan area of 5 to 6 million people, which is where we're headed, perhaps even more than 6 million people. That's actually a smaller number than one would think would be in public higher education in a metropolitan area of that size. So call that 100 to 110,000 on-campus students. That's smaller than the University of Texas system by 80,000 students. It's smaller than many university systems that have multiple campuses. We don't operate as a system because we find that to be less than an efficient way to operate. And so that's where we're headed. And so from the Poly campus perspective, what we're looking at is growth, program expansion, continued evolution of new degrees, continued development of new facilities. Ultimately, on the Polytechnic campus, the building of a very significant innovation campus adjacent to the academic campus, like SkySong or like what we're doing in the Novus Innovation Corridor on the Tempe campus, or like what we have in fragments in different places, partly the Research Park, partly SkySong. We have several hundred acres set aside on the Polytechnic campus for that. We're also hoping that the Polytechnic campus can serve, and we're competing now on the political level, and I won't go into the details of this, for future assignment of ASU in missions of national service, most particularly related to space exploration. And we believe that our Polytechnic campus gives us an opportunity with the kind of space that we have to be one of the sites, whereas the country continues to evolve its national objectives in space exploration. We're raising our hand and saying, oh, by the way, we have an old Air Force base that's not so old and has a fantastic community college there, and a fantastic airport there, and a fantastic university campus there. So that's something else that we have in the works for the Polytechnic campus. We're also looking at the Polytechnic campus for continued evolution of the ASU Preparatory Academy at the Poly campus, which is, I think, going very well. The #1 rated elementary school in Arizona is a part of ASU Prep Poly. It's a fantastic learning environment for families to come in on a charter school basis, which means no cost because it's invested in by the people as a public school. So we're very excited about what we're able to do there. And I think all in all on the Poly campus, we're hoping for a 15 to 20,000 student learning environment for fully immersed on-campus, digitally enhanced or technology-enhanced students learning there. So that's where we're planning on moving for the Polytechnic campus.
Thank you.
Moving now to the downtown campus. Samin, any questions from the downtown campus?
Yes, we have one question. President Crow, can you please provide some information about the Global Freshman Academy, the students that can earn admission into ASU, and how that affects enrollment numbers for first-time students, as well as our retention numbers at ASU?
Very good question. So the Global Freshman Academy is a name that we have on 20 or so courses designed by our faculty and built with our faculty by Ed Plus at ASU. Those 20 or so courses, which include college algebra, which is an adaptive course, pre-calculus, which is an adaptive course, English composition, astronomy, the full set of courses that a college freshman might need, or a high school sophomore might want to take, or a high school junior desperately wants to take, or a person who didn't have a chance to go to college now through what you're talking about is our College Pathways program, may take as a way to earn their way into ASU. So let's take my brother, who's a year and a half younger than me, who didn't finish high school, who I could never convince to finish high school, who suffers every consequence that you can possibly imagine, being a 60-year-old 61-year-old person who didn't graduate from high school and had all kinds of problems and so forth. If years and years and years ago, the College Pathways program was available, and he is much smarter than me by a long shot, he could have had access to a way to earn his way into college, and he'd been able to avail himself of such a system by taking what we sometimes refer to as the 400-hour SAT test. You have to take 4 courses from the Global Freshman, 4 specific courses from the Global Freshman Academy, and what you would imagine, English and math and so forth, composition. And so if you take those 4 courses and you earn a grade above a certain level, a B, 2.75 GPA, you earn your way into ASU. And I think this far, Provost Searle, how many students have made that transfer? It's just under 500. They seem to be doing very well. Those are not numbers that are affecting our overall population. We're also searching and are building relationships with other universities who will also admit these students with these credits as their way to earn their way into the university. We've had students earn their way into the university as a prototype before we had set this up from behind Taliban lines in Afghanistan. A young woman found us, was under threat of assault by her own sibling. She found a way to take these courses, took the courses, did well in the courses, and then she raised her hand and said, "Oh, I'd like to come to your university, but, how do I do that? I can't go to school here. I can't do this. I can't do that. I've got all these constraints." And that's sort of where we got the idea from, was that person and a few others that were raising their hand from the Global Freshman Academy. I think of those that have been in for a couple of semesters, they've got on average above a 3.5 grade point. So they're doing very well in the university. So we're not out yet sort of saying this is a great pathway on a global scale, but we do have an experiment with our Starbucks partnership with 3,000 Starbucks partners who want to go to ASU, but are not able to be admitted to ASU because they don't have the right courses from high school, they don't have the right performance, they didn't take the right courses in community college, whatever the reason happens to be. So we've got about 3,000. I don't know how that's all going, but it seems to be going pretty well. So they're all over 22 years old, so they don't count as a part of the freshman or first year cohort, as we now call them. And so we think this is a great program. That's a great question. I think that the provost at some point will be able to report back to the Senate on sort of where we are as this program is evolving and how meaningful we think that it can be. We live in a society, sadly, where there's 1 million high school dropouts produced every year. So if you've been sitting at ASU for the last 20 years, I got 20 million more high school dropouts, minus a few that have gotten their GED, minus a few that have gone back. So I'm going to call it 15 million high school dropouts in the last 20 years. Well, not every one of those kids wanted to be a high school dropout, and some of those kids want to find a way to earn their way into college. Well, we have such a way, and it's not just for them. There's plenty of other kids who went to college, didn't do very well for whatever set of reasons, including family issues, stress issues, mental health issues, physical health issues, all kinds of things going on, and now we've found this way. There's nothing easy about it, and so if you don't believe me, just take the 4 courses and see how you do. And then we'll think about admitting you.
We have a question here on the Tempe campus. Please introduce yourself before you ask the question.
I'm Dave Wells from CISA and the Faculty of Leadership and Interdisciplinary Studies. I actually have 2. First one, beyond the issues with the Trump administration and getting students from China here, the broader issue related to China, we used to believe that China, engagement with countries like China would encourage openness and more free thinking. We're not seeing that in China. We have 1 million Uyghurs in concentration camps, a police state for millions more of them. We're crossing our fingers about Hong Kong. We have activists in China who are disappearing on campuses. We also have ASU campuses on China and study abroad programs in China. So I'm wondering 2 things. One is, how does the university think strategically about its engagement with a country like China, and at what point is that consistent with the university's mission, and where do we draw the line? And the other question is, to help students make their own decisions about whether they should be engaged with a country country like China, or at what level? How do we look at our programs to see to what degree our money that goes into China is reinforcing things we believe in and not helping sustain a regime that has serious human rights issues? So that's my first question.
Okay.
Easy one.
Yes. So, I mean, we look at all of these things, and so principally we deal with the individual learner. And so we are a welcoming home, either online or in person, to individual learners from everywhere, from 195 countries. Someone from 195 countries, at least one person, there's only about 195 countries, is signed up for our Global Freshman Academy to at least sample it or toy around with the courses, if not take the courses. The thousands of students that we have from the People's Republic of China, these are transactions with us and their families through the transactions that are allowed, and we believe that it's in the interest of the United States and the interest of China to be a part of the continuing and hopefully impactful education of as many people from China as we can possibly facilitate. Yes, there are the questions with the Uyghurs, which I'm very familiar with. There are the questions of other human rights issues by the government of China that means then that our interactions with the government of China are limited to transactions related to education and the education of young people in particular. Are there boundary conditions for which we would look and say, well, even that's difficult? The answer would be yes. You know, we do not have some programs in other parts of the world and other places where we might be working where we're not working. And so those are complicated and difficult questions, but I believe that the principal objective of our activities are to create more educated people who are aware of our value system, aware of how we work, aware of what the democracy in the United States is all about. Several years ago, when we took on a language institute called the Confucius Institute, which we've now subsequently closed at the request of the Defense Department of the United States. The then ambassador to China called me, who I knew from a previous life, and he asked me, okay, well, that's great that you have that Confucius Institute. What do you have over in China? Where's the Lincoln Institutes in China or the other programs related to American values? So we started one, and we got at Sichuan University in Chengdu, China. It's not called Lincoln, but it's on American values, American history, and so forth. It's fledgling, but still percolating along. We got 10 or 11 other American universities to do the same thing. We had to, get that through the local representative of the Communist Party with some difficulty, and we were able to do that as a part of a bigger set of relationships. And so it's not a, it's not a static game. It's a dynamic game of back and forth and back and forth and back and forth that we look at very carefully.
All right. Thank you. My second question is about...
David, I'm going to ask you to yield. There's someone else who has a question.
All right.
Hello, Jason Scott from the School of Film, Dance, and Theater and the Herberger Institute. You talked a little bit about sort of, the value of the STEM students, the number of STEM students, and there's a national conversation in academia, as you know right now, putting the A in STEAM, yes, which is arts and design. And I noticed that many of the skills that you said, that medical schools said that students didn't have, collaboration, project management, working with people, those are all the things that we teach in arts and design as well, as you know. What are the things that we in arts and design and some of the non-STEM disciplines can do to make sure we're on the radar of you and the provost and the university, besides just partnering with STEM, which we're doing in a lot of ways, besides partnering with those schools, because we don't have the billion-dollar grants and the giant, participation with NASA and all that stuff, what are the things that you're looking for from us in terms of measuring how we're doing our job?
A good and fair question, and one that's based on the right premise. And so, we sometimes use the language of others so that we might more easily get them to understand us. The more we expand our language, which is typical in academia, since we create words and phrases and acronyms on a minute-by-minute basis to describe in technical clarity all of the things that we're working on, or in literary clarity, or in visual clarity, not using words. And so in your particular college, the Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts, it's the largest design and arts community in the country. I didn't mention the $70 million of investment going in by the people of the city of Mesa.
Thank you for mentioning it now. I appreciate that.
Well, I
Didn't
try-
want to say anything, but
I-
we're
I-
getting
well,
a big
I
new
try
building.
not to just overwhelm everyone with like 900 projects in motion. But
course.
that's a project that several of us have been personally involved in significantly, and it's going to be transformational. Your dean and a team have gone around, and others in your institute, in your college, to see these global centers where art and engineering and creativity and computer science and visualization and all these things come together, and now we're going to have a world-class facility in the integration of those activities. And so where we are is that we're all in at Herberger to advance community engagement with the arts, community engagement with arts and culture, investments, central investments to the dean, central investments for new facilities in the fine arts in downtown Phoenix and elsewhere, projects that you may not know about and we're not ready to announce yet. The largest potential investments through philanthropy in the history of the institution are being negotiated right now. Don't know if we're going to get them, but they're relative to your institute and your college. The residence facility is a Herberger Institute concentrated student living facility to get more creativity. And so I mentioned the arts and music and theater and film and so forth for starting things up. And so there's no diminishment of that. It's all sort of simultaneous. We also have overlapping schools, overlapping programs, overlapping activities, as well as artists and others now actively involved in the Biodesign Institute. And you're aware of most of these things. And so there's not any diminishment of anything. It's hard to introduce STEAM as a new term, except internally, which we do use. But you're absolutely right. These things all come together, which is why we have spent immense amounts of time, energy, and resources, and even more on making things happen. We're hopeful that, in fact, in downtown Mesa, that we don't end up with one building, but several buildings, residence halls, living quarters. And then I'll also add that we have a renovation project underway right now through a third-party partner in downtown Los Angeles at 11th and Broadway in a fabulous facility called the Herald Examiner Building, which, when done, will be a state-of-the-art, unbelievable facility that we believe will enhance our film program in particular, our journalism program in particular, other aspects that we have in areas related to the kind of creativity that's going on in Los Angeles that we're kind of one half step removed from. And so that facility, which is non-trivial and not cheap, is the kind of facility that we need to be able to expand our presence exactly in these areas that you're articulating.
When you buy a building from William Randolph Hearst, it's not cheap.
We didn't buy it.
Well, you don't buy it, but it's a Hearst building. That doesn't. That's you don't get. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
I think he's dead also. So.
Okay,
This would be my last question.
one last question.
My next meeting's in Washington tomorrow morning, so
So I'm not expecting you to know the answer to this question, but it's about student safety in Manzanita. I had a family friend who was a first-year student who lived in Manzanita last year and had lunch with her over the summer, and the stories I heard were horrific. I don't know if the administration's aware of that, but it was a deeply concerning issue, primarily with the elevators that not only didn't function, but actually fell, leading to the harm to actual students in there, disabled emergency buttons where students had to use their cell phones and so forth. Anyway, I just found that completely unacceptable, and I don't know if you're aware of this, and if you're not aware, I'd like to find out, have you report back to us to what's being done to make sure students are safe, as well as...
I do know that we have elevator performance and safety issues in residence halls for the reason that you just mentioned, which is manipulation of the elevators in residence halls often occurring. And so it's a complicated thing. We can get back to you as to where we are relative to Manzanita specifically. Generally, the provost, myself, the chief student affairs officer, the chief financial officer, the police chief, others, the deans of students on all campuses, we're notified constantly, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, of things that are going on like that. And that could be, an alleged anything from a safety issue to something like that. It's an alert system that we have. So I don't remember that particular exact case that you're talking about. Right, so we'll have Jennifer come and explain where we are on the residence halls and so forth. That's a very good question. Safety is a very complicated thing at an institution of this size, with students from everywhere and living out their lives in late adolescence. I know that all of us were perfect in late adolescence, and and so, yes, and so it's a very important question. And I just want to say thank you for everything that all you've been able to do to help advance the university to this level of performance and this level of impact for the students that come here and for the families that do whatever they do to have their students be able to attend this university with our assistance. And so, thank you.
Thank you, President Crow. And we wish you safe travels to New York. Pardon? Oh, sorry. Washington, D.C. We're moving now to the UAC Chair's report. I've made several appointments of committee chairs, and as I name these appointments, if you're in the room, if you'd please stand. One or two of you may be at the other campuses, and in that case, give a wave. Chair of the Academic Professional Grievance Committee, or the APGC, Annalee Perry. Chair of the Governance Grievance Committee, Carla Vandesan. Chair of the Committee on Academic Freedom and Tenure, David William Foster. Chair of the Senate Committee on Committees, Chris Kieselka. Thank you, Chris. Chair of the Curriculum and Academic Programs Committee, Lily Wang. Chair of the Personnel Committee, Mary Jane Parmentier. Chair of Research and Creative Activities Committee, James Lyons. Thank you. Chair of the Student Faculty Policy Committee, Johanna Uriri Glover. Thanks. And Chair of University Services and Facilities Committee, Joyce Martin. Thank you, Joyce. Chair of the Library Liaison Committee, Cynthia Bolton. I've made other appointments as well. I've appointed Chris Kieselka as University Senate Secretary for another year. Thank you, Chris. And I've appointed Denise Bodman as Senate Parliamentarian for another year. Thank you so much. I've appointed Elsie Moore as the Senate Representative to the University Ombudspersons Committee. I have a couple more appointments to make. Our liaison to the undergraduate student government and our liaison to the graduate and professional student organization. If you're interested in serving as our representative, let me know. I also want to right now take this chance to formally announce that I appointed Donna Cataldo as immediate past president of the Senate. This is an official position now with formal duties, some of which Donna has already carried out. Although she cannot attend our Senate meetings, she's been assisting with preparations for this year and advising me on a multitude of questions that I've had, and standing in for me as needed, including presiding over the Academic Assembly a couple of weeks ago, while I've been unable to attend because of a back injury. This also seems like the right time to recognize and thank again Maria Coca, University Senate Manager, for all of the work she's done to prepare our official events and to support the various areas of work that the Senate does. Thank you, Maria. Maria, I think you have an introduction and thank you to make as well.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, I'd like to formally introduce Noah Williams. This is his second week working in the office. He's our student worker, and he has been instrumental in getting this meeting ready for us. So welcome, Noah.
I've asked our student government representatives to each come up and give a brief greeting to the group. If we could hear first from Dominic Frattura, Senate President for Undergraduate Student Government, Tempe.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dominic Fratura, and I am the Senate President for Undergraduate Student Government Tempe, here today representing the associated students at Arizona State University. We are excited to be here in the spirit of shared governance. We're happy to hear the breaking news of ASU being ranked the nation's #1 school in innovation for the 5th year in a row. USGT is fortunate to work with such an inclusive university with such spectacular faculty, staff, and students. And so we are looking forward to another successful academic year, and I would like to thank Senate President Rose for having us here today. Thank you.
Leah? Leah Jones is president of the Graduate and Professional Student Association.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leah Jones, and as she just said, I am the president of the Graduate and Professional Student Association for this year. I'm super excited to get to serve and represent our graduate students here at ASU, and also to serve on this board and hear what is going on with faculty and be able to report back to our graduate students as well, so that there's a continuous communication flow between all the different entities here at ASU. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Leah. For the last part of my chair's report, I'll close with my charge to the senators. It may seem that during a Senate meeting, not very much happens, with the exception, of course, of President Crow's remarks. And that's by design. Much of the work of our committees goes on before the Senate meetings. I would not want you to get the mistaken impression that not much is happening. If we're functioning effectively, most of the discussion happens outside of our committees. So I want to take this opportunity to thank those of you who have been serving on committees and those of you who will be newly appointed to committees in the next few weeks for the contributions that you make. I know that all of the committees will be striking task force and subcommittees, so if you've not had an opportunity to serve on a committee, please let us know so you can take part in that work as well. I also want to ask you all to take very seriously your responsibility to represent the units that elected you. It's important that your units know what's going on in the Senate and that you each take back a report to your constituencies to let them know, and that you ask them to let you know their thoughts so that there's an open channel of communication between the Senate and our faculty. We're ready now to move to new business. I'm going to ask Lily Wang if she would come up. Lily is chair of the Curriculum and Academic Programs Committee, or CAPC, and she will present the motions, curriculum and academic program motions for first reading. We will not vote on these today. However, if you or members of the units you represent have feedback or concerns, please contact the Senate office, Lily or me, before the next Senate meeting. Lily?
Okay, thank you, Shirley. Hi, everyone. The following motions and proposals will be taken up at the CAPC meeting this Thursday, September 12th, and then will be brought back to the Senate for a vote at our next meeting on October 7th. So as always, as Shirley mentioned, if you have any questions, concerns, suggestions, please get them to me or Shirley, preferably by this Thursday, so we can make sure that they are addressed at the CAPC meeting. And if you missed the CAPC meeting, if you cannot send those to me by the CAPC meeting this Thursday, certainly let us know before the next Senate meeting so we can make sure that all parties that have an interest in this can be represented. So first, the items listed in Appendix A will be brought up at the CAPC meeting. However, they will not be brought up before the Senate. So if you have any questions or concerns or suggestions, please get those to me by this Thursday morning. Now, here goes the motions. First, a request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of International Letters and Cultures for the establishment of an undergraduate certificate, European Studies. A request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of International Letters and Cultures for the name change of a graduate degree from PhD in International Letters and Cultures to PhD in Comparative Culture and Language. A request from the Essen College of Nursing and Health Innovation for the establishment of a graduate degree, MS in Healthcare Simulation. A request from the College of Integrative Sciences and Arts for the disestablishment of an undergraduate certificate, Technical Communication. A request from the Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College, Division of Educational Leadership and Innovation for the name change of a graduate degree from MA in Curriculum and Instruction to MA in Education. A request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of Politics and Global Studies for the establishment of a graduate degree, MA in International Affairs and Leadership. A request from the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering, Del E. Webb School of Construction for the name change of an undergraduate degree from BS in Construction Management to BS in Construction Management Technology. A request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, Dean's Office for the establishment of an undergraduate degree, BS in Technological Leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Next, we'll move to old business. The first item of old business is the new course proposal consent agenda, which was distributed via email on August 29th. Let me explain that a consent agenda is a set of items that you have had an opportunity to review in advance, and our expectation is that these will not need discussion at this time. If you do wish to discuss them, please let me know. The new course proposal consent agenda was posted and distributed via email to all Senate members on August 29th to remove an item consent agenda for further discussion at this time. Seeing as there are no calls for changes, is there a motion to accept this consent agenda?
We'll go ahead and start the voting on that.
Did we get a second? I did not hear a second. Thank you, Joan. Seconded. Okay, we'll begin the vote on that then. Same instructions as usual.
Okay, any last minute votes? Closing the voting.
The motion passes. Thank you. Lily? I'm asking Lily to return to the podium to read the CAPC consent agenda.
So the following proposals were approved at the last CAPC meeting on April 25th. A request from the Thunderbird School of Global Management for the establishment of an undergraduate certificate, Global Management. A request from the Thunderbird School of Global Management for the establishment of an undergraduate certificate, International Trade. A request from the College of Integrative Sciences and Arts for the establishment of a graduate degree, MS in Organizational Leadership. A request from the Thunderbird School of Global Management for the establishment of a graduate degree, MGLS in Global Leadership and Strategy. A request from the College of Health Solutions for the disestablishment of a graduate degree, MS in Obesity Prevention and Management.
The CAPC consent agenda has been presented. Does any member want to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing as there are no calls for changes, is there a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda? Okay. Moved by McGregor and seconded by Bodman.
We will begin the voting. Any last minute votes? Closing the voting.
The motion passes. Thank you, Maria. Our next item is committee chair reports, and we do have a report from the University Senate Committee on Committees.
Senators and committee chairs, good afternoon. It's customary for the Senate to be voting at this particular meeting to affirm the selection of new committee members. However, still waiting for more information at this time to otherwise complete that process. So appreciate your responses to the survey that was recently conducted where you were asked to indicate your committee preferences. This certainly is a priority and we'll move forward as soon as possible.
And I want to thank Chris for her work on this and thank all of you who have stepped up to volunteer for committee work. Next is open forum. Do we have any questions or comments? In that case, our business for today is completed, and I'm adjourning this meeting.